What's going on, y'all? Got another one for you. This one will be kind of the same vein as the last few ones I've been releasing about autism being attractive, the black pill, accepting reality, and accepting more of who we all are as humans, and how I'm seeing through the lens that I have with my autism, and seeing how animalistic animalistic we all are, and how we're kind of hurting ourselves and hurting each other by not embracing how animalistic that we actually are, and how that is going to be something that's going to pretty much be true about us until we go extinct. Humans are animals, and I see us acting very, very animalistic more and more every single day. We seem as a collective to be a little less animalistic to people who are more similar to us. We seem to be able to have a easier time functioning in society, kind of keeping all those societal rules engaged and kind of going the way that they were written to go when we have just more and more similar people around us. But once we start to notice and see people who are a little bit different than us for positive or negative effect, that's when the cracks start to show a little bit, and people start to act a little bit more primal, act a little bit more similar than to how we used to act, for all those thousands of years before we had the civilizations and the societies that we have today. And how I don't really see any reason to continue to punish people for having urges and needs that need to be somewhat met, like I'm definitely noticing more when the saying, beggars can't be choosers. That is that's ringing very true in today's world, because so many people are just looking for any type of validation, any type of comfort, looking towards someone, or to something to believe in, where there's just not a whole lot of that, especially where I'm living at now. I'm doing my best to be that beacon of light and hope the best way that I can, and help other people who are trying to be that similar outlook for the people who they want to help in their communities. And I think the best way for us to do that is to kind of do a whole lot of acceptings of ourselves, and accepting of like who we are, and stop pointing the finger on everyone else. I made a video about we're not victims, and we're not. We're victims of our thoughts, and how we keep giving into them, especially the intrusive ones that just kind of find his way, sneaks his way into your conscious, and people kind of give in, depending on how emotionally volatile they've been. But for myself, I know that because of my autism, and because of me being conventionally attractive in today's society, I get so much information thrown at me from people on a daily basis. I feel like I have 8 to 10 storylines going on every single day. And for the longest time, this is something like that's been very recent for me. For the longest time, I've kind of just been giving a little bit of my attention to these storylines, because I haven't been really accepting who I am, and where I fall in the hierarchy of things in society, especially on a biological sense. I haven't really truly been, I've been accepting the black pill in little micro doses, where it doesn't completely overwhelm me, where it doesn't completely shatter my reality, but it has definitely changed me for the better, to where now I can get a better grasp of like where I'm heading in my trajectory, where I can make better decisions for myself, where I can have people who I know are going to be in my life long term kind of there, while also weeding out the people who are just kind of using whatever situation they have in front of them for their benefit, which I would never blame anybody for doing that, because we all do it. I'm no better than anybody else, because the decisions that I make hurt the least amount of people, at least in my opinion. But I have no idea who I'm hurting every single day. I know my presence is going to keep someone from getting what they want. They want a certain outcome with a certain person. They're looking forward to get a number from somebody, get some chick's attention. I know, and if they're just like some regular dude, my presence there is going to make that a lot difficult because she's going to have to make a decision there between this person who they might not have any feelings for, or this person who they might have feelings for. So it's something that I've noticed that is this. Whenever I see myself or someone similar to me interact in public and interact in very social spaces, people's animal nature just kind of comes out a lot easier, and that's one of the benefits of being a conventionally attractive autistic person, is that I get to analyze so many of these situations because of how people portray me, how I am being perceived by others. I get to see, them at their like lowest, not lowest, but at their primal level sometimes, get their true feelings, their true thoughts, their true selves, or the closest to it, of without having like an intimate relationship with that person. I get to see that on a daily basis. I get to see, why so many people don't have long-term relationships, or don't want to get married, or don't want to start communities, because of how people actually are versus how we want to be portrayed. And I know I'm the same way. Like I was saying earlier, got so many storylines, so many plots in my life. I'm in part of a lot of people's plays. I'm in part of a lot of people's like video games they got going on in their head, where I'm a character somewhere in there. What character I represent, I have no idea. For some people I do, but some people it's literally, I have no idea what their plans for me is. But at least I get to have a role in their life. That means something at the very least. But coming to the understanding that I have so many storylines, so many plot lines, that I can never. It's should never say never. It's very hard for me to be present when I'm just got finished advancing the plot in like 2 storylines earlier in the day, and then I have another storyline that I'm not even wanting to advance the plot in, because this storyline is, for me, is just like a place for peace, a place for me to decompress and not be in reality as much. I can kind of be in my own little reality, in my own little world. But that's never the case. I no matter where I go, the storyline, once I leave this storyline and I go to another one, that one continues, while that one also continues in the background. It never ends. Like a wise man once said, every day rent is due. Every day rent is due for collection. Because just because you want to go into a situation where you just want to chill, you want to just not be seen, not be heard, just kind of be, a bystander, because you think you paid all the rent that you paid for everyone there. You were cool, you acknowledge everyone, you're kind of being, a decent person or whatever. That has nothing to do with what that person's going through, and what rent is due in their world, and what they're willing to do, because of you can only control what you do and your actions. I can go into a party situation where my whole goal is to talk to 2 specific people, catch up with them, have some drinks, meet a few people, and leave. That might be my interpretation. That might be my expectations in that scenario. But if there's, say 16, 17 other people there, they're going to have a completely different scenario with completely different people, and for a very completely different thing. So me going into that scenario, that situation, that into that party with that mind frame, there's nothing wrong with that, but I always have to be honest with myself and saying, like, the vast majority of times that I've gone into a situation with very little acknowledgement or heads up with very little knowledge about what I was walking myself into has never ended the way that I thought it was going to be because of my main reason, my main obstacle was fully accepting who I was and compared to everybody else. You know, being handsome while being autistic is kind of like I won't say a double entendre, but it definitely is a double-edged sword where I know to move forward with what I want to do in life and get to achieve the goals that I'm looking for, I can't really hyper focus on how attractive I am. That has overall very little to do with where I'm trying to go from a cosmetic sense. Obviously, from like genes and biological sense, and it is the reason why I do the things that I do and how I do them. I know it matters. It matters very much, but I shouldn't be hyper focused on them all the time. I either need to accept that fact or reject it and move on. There's nothing really else I can do about it other than that. So from an autistic point, it definitely makes a whole lot of sense for me to not kind of fixate on that. But from a day-to-day experience, especially with other people, I kind of have to have that in my forefront of my mind because of how animalistic all of us are. So many people, you have no idea, like I said, in a party situation, how many people are there to get over a relationship, how many people are there to feel good about themselves, to get some type of validation, how many people are there to look to pick a fight with somebody, how many people are there to just de-associate with their realities in any way, shape, or form. You know what I'm saying? Like, everyone's there for their own reasons. Everyone has their own storylines. Everyone has their own paths that they're going through. And I'm starting to realize that I need to be more present in those situations in understanding like where I fit in that situation compared to all the other people, especially compared to all the other men, because that's going to dictate how the rest of that night's going to go. And when, for the majority of my life, when I wasn't all that present, it didn't really pay me any mind, because the vast majority of people who were in the party situation or the friend situation or the dinner situation or any situation I'm in with people who I don't know or people who I don't really want to get to know, I have a certain amount of scripts and a certain amount of ways of communicating with people where I am showing them kindness, I am showing them grace, I am trying to learn them, get better at learning who they are as people, but I'm also not taking their thoughts or feelings into account about how they feel about me. I just say like, if I'm looking at a chick, I'm like, oh, she seems pretty cool. I'll definitely like to get to know her more, and hopefully maybe something can come out of this. But normally, if she's not, someone like normally I pretty much exclusively date black women, so it's not a black woman. She's going to have to be like absolutely amazing human being for me to consider dating her, and I can't really see any incompatibilities between us, and that normally doesn't happen. Normally, there's always something that's like, I probably shouldn't either, because there's something about her that I just I don't know. It's not so much the other person. It's mostly me and me trying to look for that perfection, and not really wanting to take that risk or take that leap of faith. I know a lot of it makes a lot of sense, but a lot of it's also hurting me. But going back to the scenario where I'm talking to someone, I'm not really thinking about getting too invested with that person. I want to be cool and cordial with that person, be kind to that person, but I will be completely okay if I never saw that person ever again. I can't assume that that's how they feel about me or anyone else in that particular situation, because like I said, I have no idea what's going on in their background, what's going on in their actual lives, in their day-to-day space, where they just might be going through hell. They might be in a terrible abusive relationship. They might have a whole bunch of people coming after them. They might have a whole bunch of people just not believing in them. They might just have nothing to look forward to or anything to get them out of bed every morning. And having a conversation with me or anyone else could be like that spark, for better or for worse. I mean, they might see me as competition. They might see me as a threat. They might see me as a love interest. They might see me as a new best friend. I have no idea. off of the very little bit of information I have about people. So it's hard for me to kind of jump to that conclusion, and making assumptions is it can be very tricky, because a wise man once said, assumptions make an ass out of you and me. So I try not to assume too many things. I just try to get as much information as I can and see how that affects me. The understanding and adding in that animalistic part to it, I have to also keep in mind that so many people aren't really in that situation, or in any situation. They are actually going off of the social lens. They're going off of the biological lens, and they're actually changing the rules. They're changing the rules of engagement when they're talking to me, or getting any information to me, or people, someone like me, or a friend or a family member or whatever. I have to understand that I have to operate off of different rules than the average person. So I can't go off of what the average person does. I can't go off of any talking or any situation I'm having with the person about being like, oh, this person feels absolutely nothing about me, negative, positive, good or bad. This isn't the case. That's just the plight of an attractive person, is that no one's going to think neutrally of you. They're either going to love you, hate you, pity you, lust over you, just a whole bunch of different emotions. And it always fluctuates. It never stays in one place, which is the beauty of humans, is that we just kind of ebb and flow with our emotions. But coming to terms with that, coming to terms with the fact that, yeah, we're very animalistic. A lot of people are just going off of how they feel because that's what they want to do. And there's nothing wrong with it. I think we need to kind of give ourselves a lot of grace for all the animalistic things that we do, and how we have very little control over it, because it happens so subconsciously all the time. The vast majority of those situations where it's like I didn't even know what I was doing, I didn't know what I was saying. I just was just acting, and once you don't have full control over your thoughts and your emotions, that can happen more and more often. So when I'm seeing people acting more animalistic, and it comes across as either kind or sweet, or sometimes cruel, or just mean, I have to kind of like add in that animalistic element, add that ingredient into there, and being like, yeah, I still feel a certain type of way about that. I still appreciate, that person showing me love, that person being kind to me, and I don't appreciate that person not showing me love, and that person being kind of cruel. I gotta just chalk it up to us being animals, and really not take that too personal, because like I was saying, rent's due every day, and if someone's showing you something, it's because rent's due, and they're paying their rent. They're making sure that they're putting themselves in the best situation possible. Like I know I have a whole bunch of people who I have to pay rent to on a daily basis, but I have no idea how much rent they're paying me. A lot of the time I'm only giving people a little bit of attention, a little bit of acknowledgement, a little bit of a validation, because I just don't have enough to give everyone the equal amount. So I gotta be kind of stingy, but I have no idea how much rent I'm receiving from people compared to everyone else. You know what I'm saying? I have no idea. I have no idea how many of my friends are giving me more validation and rent paid versus like their loved ones or their spouses. I don't know how many women that I work with in a workplace are giving me more validation than they're giving to their loved ones. I have no idea how anyone gives who pays the most amount of rent, who's receiving the most amount of rent. So by me accepting myself for who I am, accepting humans for who we are as animals, and understanding that everyone has their needs that need to be met no matter what they are, it can be completely what's the word I'm looking for? Non-sexual. I know there's another word for it. Platonic, I guess. I guess it can be pretty completely platonic, but need to be met, no matter what. And people are going to gravitate towards those things or services that are going to, or people that are going to get those needs met. So once I really start embracing who I am in the hierarchy of attraction, and just continue to allow the black pill to kind of not take over, but kind of purify me of all the things that I thought I knew about myself and the environment around me, I can just make better decisions and continue becoming the man who I want to be and who I've been striving for my whole life, is trying to get close to that idea of that guy who was just about his morals, about his missions, about his who he is. Like I want to make sure that I am the man that I say I am, and not some pretender with what do you call it, imposter syndrome. I want to make sure I'm doing the right work about getting diagnosed and having a positive outlook on, you know, being autistic and having being neurodivergent. You know, make sure that I am being honest and truthful about my pursuits, about what I want to do with the art that I'm making with people, because I know, speaking of like the storylines that I am in, a lot of them, they aren't what I thought they were going to be. I was kind of ruminating and making up of my own reality with people about being like, hey, a lot of what's going on in my life is very hectic. So these two new people, I want to make you into two very specific people, and you're not allowed to deviate from that. I can't allow that, because that would just be too much on my plate. And then you three over there, you got to be three very specific people. You cannot deviate from that. You can actually be your own person. You got to stay right where you're at. And I've noticed that I've been doing that to shield myself from the truth of how animalistic I am, how animalistic other people are, and how we're just going to do whatever we want, and be very, sometimes unapologetic about it, very like nonchalant about it, but also be very upfront about it. You know what I'm saying? So it's something that I just need to kind of be 100% present of, and just not being like, yes, I see it in the background, but I don't want to deal with it, because I don't want to deal with the reality of what's going on right now, because I'm already processing so many other realities from my childhood, from my adolescence, that's happening currently. But the best way for me to do that, I think I said this in the previous video, is to just accept who I am, and accept that these things are never going to go away. These things are never going to stop. They're only going to get more intense the closer I get to my goals. By the time I reach my goals, whatever they are, whatever beautiful art that I want to make with all my suffering and my experiences, and this being alive, and you know, being like an attractive person in today's world, and being intelligent at the same time, and just seeing things from my perspective, especially as a black man. You know, I just get so much, like I was saying, I get so much thrown at me that's very real, it's very raw, and it's hard to process it a lot of times, especially when it's constant every single day. It doesn't stop. You know, like I said, people just have rent that they want to pay, and sometimes they want to pay that to me, and I'm like, what am I supposed to do with this? What am I supposed to do with these feelings, with these thoughts? I thought we were this way, and now we're that way, because of what's going on in the background that I can never see. You know what I'm saying? I leave someone, I have a good conversation with someone, I leave someone, I come back a year later, they remember all of it, and I can barely remember it, because I wasn't giving you that much rent. I would just give you just a little bit of it, but I have no idea how much that little bit of rent meant to that person. The best way for me to get to that, to bridge that gap, is to accept who I am, and accept that person might not have had an experience like that in their entire life, or have very, very small doses of that experience, since there just aren't that many attractive men out here. And that's not my opinion. That's just kind of the facts and what I'm experiencing. So the fact that, you know, so many people are willing to pay rent to me, and I'm not meeting them where they're at, is definitely something I need to work on, because I definitely do not want to come across as someone who wants to be like nonchalant and don't have people who are close to him. I just got to kind of trust myself and really embrace who I am as a person, and not allow the people who gaslit me and kind of try to keep me off my purpose and off my rock, to continue to do that. And that's what I do by just not accepting who I am. So I know from this a few days ago, but from this day forward, I'm just going to be very, very unapologetic about what I want and what I want to see and what I want to do, because I can't expect other people to kind of be on the same wavelength than me, because they can't. We're not mind readers. I'm not a mind reader. They're not mind readers. I kind of have to just be very unapologetic about how I see things, how I do things, and yeah, understand that rents due every single day, and that we're animals, and the fact that I'm a handsome, neurodivergent black male. I have to accept so many of that moving forward to where I can just get closer and closer to where I want to go, especially with this. Like, this is so therapeutic to me, because I know I'm getting better at it. Every single video, I'm getting more comfortable about talking about things, getting just more vulnerable about who I am and what I want to see and what I want to do in the future. So this is just the beginning. You know, I'm definitely looking forward to this. I'm definitely looking forward to dipping my toes in the black pill space, even though I know a lot of people aren't going to really believe me. It's very hard to believe a conventionally attractive person when they talk about black pill things, but I know where I'm talking about and where I'm coming from comes from at the heart. I have no reason to lie to people, because it hasn't really serviced me or served me a whole lot being a liar. It's actually been made my life a lot easier being truthful overall. In the long term, in the short term, lying does help a whole lot, but in the long term, it doesn't really help you out. It actually makes you second guess yourself. So my whole thing is doing all this acceptance is just going to lead to me becoming who I say I'm going to become, like I said earlier, and just tapping in and being more centered and being more present in the moment, and understanding who I am, and understanding that my perception of the world is going to constantly be challenged by people. I can think the best of people. I can see two people who they're a couple, and they are really good friends, and I might be wanting to make friends with one of the two, and I have to understand that yes, we are still social. We still have a kind of society that we want to be upheld, but at the same time, I have to understand that we're all still animals. We all still have needs, and things are just never what they seem on the surface. I have to keep that in mind. I don't want to use that to like kind of continue to isolate myself from other people, but I also got to be honest with myself and real with myself about how I want this relationship to go, and how I see these people in my life has literally nothing to do with me. It has everything to do with them. So I kind of have to meet them where they're at and be like, hey, who are you people? This is who I am. Who are you? So we can better figure out a way to kind of coexist with each other, because I'm not sure how much rent you're going to pay me. I'm not sure how much rent I need to pay you. I'm not even sure if we need to even be paying each other rent, if I should be tying myself to you, because if I just know how animalistic that we get, eventually the like I said, the cracks are going to show, and we're really going to see what this is, which isn't a bad thing. I just want to be more transparent and upfront about it, so we can all be on the same page, and I don't have to have all this confusion about why things are happening around me and why people act the way they do around me and around other people. Things that I've experienced, things that I've seen, are starting to make a lot more sense now that I'm doing all this acceptance. And this all came from, like I said, from the black pill. It was beautiful. It's absolutely worth it. And I'm gonna make a video about how suffering from the black pill can lead to like a lot of beautiful art that we're going to be seeing, that we actually are seeing right now in real time. We're just not really fully appreciating it because we're all doing this shared suffering, but we're going to see a lot of beautiful things coming up in the next 5 to 10 years. Like, I can definitely say, especially after COVID, after all that suffering we got to go through collectively, it's going to be a lot of beautiful, a lot of pain, a lot of hurt, but a lot of beauty coming up. So yeah, stay tuned, because it's going to be wild. There's definitely a wave coming. I'm just trying to get on and to make sure I'm a part of this huge change, because this is something that it's very close to my heart. This is something that I know I was born to do. I'm not sure where this lines up in that, but I know this is part of it. This is only one of the many stepping stones to lead to where I want to be and where I want to go. I don't really care about how much money I make or how famous I get from any of this. That doesn't really speak to me. It never really has. It's the reason why I waited so long to even do things like this, because it never really spoke to me. But knowing that I can actually help people, having having the experience of helping people, having people look at me as like an elder or big bro or someone that they can confide in, and it's been this way since I was a kid. People always came up to me and just started talking to me, started really opening up to me. So I just have, a perk of being attractive, a perk of having all those uh, good genetics that I learned from the black pill, and I'm still learning about. I'm still trying to make amends with and all that. But that's pretty much it. It's kind of a more of a yapping session about how animalistic we are and how we should be more kind to each other for tapping into that animalistic side, because that's what we all have. We all do it every single day. We're just trying to be more kind and more purposeful about it. And I know I'm going to be as well, and also giving people grace about being how animalistic they are, not flipping out over every little impulsive thing someone does or says, because we all do it, and we should all give each other that grace. But it starts with ourselves. Accept that we're animals, accept that we have to pay rent every single day, and then pass it out to other people. That's what I've been doing. It's been making this whole process go a lot smoother. But yeah, that's all I got. Thanks for allowing me to waste more of your time. Take it easy.